I imagine this weekend that you've spent together has been a disruption. And I've imagined that it's allowed you plenty of opportunity to dream a little. We don't give ourselves enough time to dream.
You are going to be building a raft with your team, and we're going to see which team is most successful and quickest at going out into the water and around the buoy and back in. How many people at some point during that experience felt a certain level of frustration?
Oh yeah.
It was designed to force us to say, hey, this is not going to work with one paddle and with this really tippy thing. What's another way of thinking about this?
Okay, so what do you do? Go. Got it.
Oh my God, so one of the biggest strategies that effective teams and effective team leaders do is they ask questions. Stop doing what we're doing, step back, reassess, ask some questions. Is there a different way of thinking about this? Is there a different way of doing this? And now re-engage.
As societies, we often try to create what I would call a ta-da moment. A ta-da moment is when we spend all this time building something for perfection, and then we put it in the water, and what happens? The ta-da becomes uh-oh. When we can have more uh-oh moments, it allows us to refine so that we can have that real ta-da.
So perception is how you organize and interpret all the sensory information that you're getting, sight, sounds, and then that's how you define your environment around you. And so what you see is not always the sum of what you're visually picking up. So as teams on your board, every one of you is going to have gaps, but that's not necessarily the perception that people outside your societies will have. As a team, you can come together and kind of connect those lines amongst each other. There's no organizations that does not have operational habits. And if you sit down as a board, you will likely be able to list them down. The only difference is that these operational habits either come from thoughtlessness or they come from a thoughtful procedure where people come together and think about, like, how do we achieve our goals, how do we achieve our vision, and put those habits together. Good leaders can change those destructive habits and seize the right opportunities or the crisis to kind of make that flip happen.
So often in our conversation that we have with people, in our speech that we use, we negate people's opinions. The agreement frame is really your best friend here. Find something to appreciate, respect, or agree with about what they said. And so now, if I'm going to counter it, I've been able to lay a groundwork that's more conversational, it's more collaborative, it's less adversarial.
There's certain elements that folks think are really important in leadership and what it means to be a leader. Each and every one of us in this room has a very distinct definition on our own, right? So this was what people thought a leader was, a rich old white guy. And if you did not fall into that category, you just simply weren't a leader. And this idea that leaders are born and they can't learn about leadership or can't be developed as leaders, we found is untrue. So it's super important for us to know what things we're really great at and things that we're not so great at.
How often do we focus on our own square without realizing that someone else might be missing a square, and we need to actually break up the work that we've done and the stuff that we've done for them to be able to complete what they do. Sometimes you have to think beyond yourself. Maybe there's something else you can be doing or changing the way you do something that can help other people on the team be able to get their full potential.
Kindergartners start with the marshmallow and they build prototypes, successive prototypes, always keeping the marshmallow on top.
As you can see from this video, I told you the answer to this challenge yesterday. Prototyping, iterative design. When you were building the rafts, I said, put it in the water, test it out. The hidden assumption in the marshmallow challenge is that the marshmallow is light and fluffy. When we do our own programming, whether it's running an event or reaching out for sponsorship or whatever, we have assumptions that we're making. But until we test those, we might be leaving that ta-da moment to an uh-oh moment.
So this is about a cutting edge technology like storytelling, but maybe applying as a leadership practice. So it has a fancy name we call public narrative.
And it's really about using a spirit of inquiry. It's not just about speaking, but it's about listening and asking. Really, the point of it is to help identify values, identify shared values, and help mobilize people to act. Doing this practice generates a lot of emotional content, and we have to be very intentional about how to channel it towards things. And how do we be impactful within our student societies, but start to lay the groundwork for generating people's capacity to be able to act in the world with some effectiveness?
The first follower is actually an underestimated form of leadership in itself. It takes guts to stand out like that. The first follower is what transforms a lone nut into a leader.
But as soon as the systems break down, then we're actually in that crack. We're in a crack of opportunity. The system has changed, and it's an opportunity to create the world we want to see. And you're not trained for it, it just happens. The reality is, when systems break down, you automatically start to create the world you want to see. If the cracks don't happen on their own, create the cracks. Be that joyful disruptor.